Thank you for joining us with Shara Park. I'm Tamara Baifanua. We are following the latest this hour on that large explosion this morning in Salt Lake City that blew out the building at a convenience store gas station. Fire investigators have spent the better part of the morning looking into the cause.
News specialist Brian Carlson has been covering this all morning for us. So, Brian, what are firefighters telling you at this hour?
Well, Sharon, Tamara, firefighters are confirming it's likely a natural gas leak. The question is, where did it start? We know how it ended. The blast was so strong that it blew windows here from the building behind me, sending one glass door flying nearly 70 feet away.
Shards of broken glass, metal doors flying off their frames. Firefighters tell KSL the damage to the building extensive.
They found some load-bearing walls to be bowed out in addition to the windows exploding.
They say around 3:15 this morning, Salt Lake Fire got calls of an explosion at the Chevron gas station convenience store, also home to a Subway and Chinese Hawaiian grill here on Redwood and North Temple.
Senator Brown, I'd like to.
Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A dozen years ago, when you did the tax holiday here, all the corporations had all this money, and of course they were going to be eager to give it out to work. Well, actually, they didn't give it out to workers. They did stock buybacks. They did executive compensation. They paid out in dividends. Right. Then somebody cited Britain. Great Britain has done a series of tax cuts. And their wages were flat too. So this is really wishful thinking. But I do know that the TV ads that are going to be run against the 5 most important senators on this committee, the TV ads that the independent groups will run, will of course say Senator McCaskill and Senator Casey and Senator Stabenow and Senator Nelson are voting against a $4,000 raise that this tax cut is going to bestow on them. We know it's coming. We know you'll have way more money to promote that than we will have to defend it, but that's why the Wyden Amendment is so important. And I just think it would be nice just tonight, before we go home, to just acknowledge, well, this tax cut really is not for the middle class, it's for the rich. And that whole thing about higher wages, well, it's a good selling point, but we know companies don't just give away higher wages. They just don't give away higher wages just because they have more money. Corporations are sitting on a lot of money now. They're sitting on a lot of profits now. I don't see wages going up. So just spare us the bank shots, spare us the sarcasm and the satire, and
I'm going to spare it, but I'm going to just say to you that I come from the poor people, and I've been here working my whole stinking career for people who don't have a chance. And I really resent anybody saying that I'm just doing this for the rich. Give me a break. I think you guys overplay that all the time, and it gets old. And frankly, you ought to quit it.
Mr. Chairman, the public believes it.
I'm not through.
Okay.
I get kind of sick and tired of it. True, it's a nice political play.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
it's not true.
With all due respect, I get sick and tired of the richest people
Regular
in
order,
this country
Mr. Chairman.
getting richer and
Regular
richer.
order.
We do a tax
Regular order.
middle class
Wait a minute.
Regular order.
and over and over again.
Wait just
How
a
many
second.
times do we do this before we learn this? Mr. Chairman?
Listen, I've honored you by allowing you to spout off here. And what you said was not right. That's all I'm saying. I come from the lower middle class originally. We didn't have anything. So don't spew that stuff on me. I get a little tired of that crap. And let me just say something. If we worked together, we could pull this country out of every mess it's in. And we could do a lot of the things that you're talking about, too. And I think I've got a reputation of having worked together with Democrats.
Let's start with Chip.
Not starting with Chip. I did it. I've done it for years. I've got more bills.
Start with Chip today.
I got more bills passed than everybody on this committee put together. And they've been passed for the benefit of people in this country. Now, all I can say is I like you personally very much, but I'm telling you, this bull crap that you guys throw out here really gets old after a while. To do it right at the end of this was just not right.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
Through federal filings, we confirmed the numbers on 12 funds, each with more than one web domain owned by the LDS Church. The funds control about $31.9 billion in investments.
All right, Travis Wingetsell. We'll finish off April 2018's Russell Marion Nelson Conference. And boy, oh boy, So to review, they started off with the solemn assembly that shows that they're not the true succession from Joseph Smith. They again reiterate that they refuse to accept the gift of translation. And then Nelson, in priesthood, does away with the high priest group, and then does away with home teaching. In the opening Sunday session, he reiterates that and says that visiting teaching also is gone by the way of the dodo. And I warned you that in retrospect, from the Oaks leak by Little Sister Jessica from 2020, that all of this was preparing for the coming of Jesus, as Nelson says. That all that he is doing is for the coming of Jesus in the coming days. You're going to see the wonderful magical powers of Jesus. Well, it's not Jesus, it's them, the leaders of the church, that are causing all of this. And, oh wow, I got to cover that too. Oops. I did not want this to be long. I do not want to do this tomorrow morning. Oops. I opened up Pandora's box. And see, I'd started doing a playlist about the full latter days of 11 years, which we get to again talk about. This could be long. Crap. Because the Book of Mormon is awesome. It is so true, and Mormons don't believe it. Because I'm again about to show you my power. You've already seen it in the thumbnail picture that I have yet to create. And by a personal note, I am waiting for the investigators of the explosion this morning as to whether or not it was an actual human-caused error or if it was just a leak. Stay tuned, because if it's human error, I may know who done it. So I'm waiting for the investigators to finish. They don't really know how to do investigation in Utah. But We'll see. Nonetheless, I do know how to investigate. And this is where I am awesome. Because I knew exactly what happened when he said it. I went, oh, you bastard. While the rest of the audience is, yay, church is true. And so, yes, because Oaks got leaked, because we're supposed to be Jewish, and therefore, as Christian, we're the great and abominable church of Jesus Christ. All wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Therefore, they're up to something. And this is what we're leading into. What they were up to. Because they were planning the coup as early as 2016, if not preparing the way for it. If Trump would have gone full on and not been stopped and hindered, he would have destroyed America in his first term. But people kept saying no. People sued. People protested. And so, as he says in his book, Art of the Deal, he pretends to back off of those, while others that he got away with, he goes to the next level with. And he throws out more, and then throws out the others again, but to a lesser degree, to see what he can get away with. And that's why he throws out a whole bunch of stuff all at once, to cause confusion. Because the majority of the press and the people really are only concerned with their one to few issues. They're not thinking in terms of the big picture. And we saw how psychologists have destroyed our nation by focusing on our truth, our issues, when the whole problem could be solved by simply appealing to the 14th Amendment, Section 1, where all citizens are to be treated equally. So you don't need to push for LGBTQ rights. You don't need to push for black rights. You don't need to push for women's rights. You don't need to push for Asian rights. You don't need to push for etc., etc., etc. It's all covered in that one amendment. And that's all the lawsuits needed to point out. That the judges, therefore, would say, oh, yeah, right, sorry, Trump, can't do that. And then the Supreme Court, they'd have to go on the record defying the 14th Amendment, Section 1. And instead, because these defense lawyers, or lawyers who are on behalf of the people who are being victimized by Trump's decisions and policies and procedures, do not use that in their case, Trump is able to get judges to side with him as president. And that's how he's been able to destroy the law and the Constitution. And that's why women lost their rights under Roe v. Wade. That's why Trump now says LGBTQ are illegal. And birthright citizenship is now under attack, under SCOTUS right now, being decided. And other issues that have now been gone when they were there in the 14th Amendment, Section 1 the whole time. And so, yeah, it frustrates me that people in the legal field don't even know the law to argue it correctly. In Utah, decades ago, movie buffs, a little kid with his mommy strayed from his mommy and found a case that belonged behind the beaded section. That's considered porn in Utah, and they've been wanting to ban porn all the time. Bob's Magazine was always under attack as cops would pay little kids to go in to try to sneak up on the stand to see the adult magazines to get Bob in trouble. And so, yeah, there's lots of hatred that goes on in the state of Utah because they don't want to give First Amendment rights to people. But this situation, I was there looking for rentals, not in the beaded section. Those aren't covered by the monthly pass. And while I was checking the walls, he came in because his office was there at that one branch that was downtown. And the overnight guy was there, and he went to his office, and the guy followed him in the office, and they left the door open so I could hear what they were talking about. And he was talking about the lawsuit and how he was saying that he doesn't even like those movies, and that he had to do it because it's the company that requires him to sell them. And I learned from the case that the lawyers for him tried to argue that the Sharon Stone movie was wrongly rated. That was not what the little kid found, and tried to use that as a justification that the designations of porn rating is arbitrary and subject. And he lost the case, and I just, oh my God, why did you get those lawyers? First Amendment. He didn't really like those movies anyway. And he lost his family, he lost his job, he was ruined. All because he could not argue the case correctly. And so, anyway, moving on. So this final one is where Nelson gives us the number of temples that they are purchasing land for, and under the guise of building a temple to prostitute more wives in the church through tithing. Everything the church does is a crime because they're lying to us that we're supposed to be Jewish and they're claiming to be Christian. That's why I do the videos for you guys, and Mormons just don't care. They want to be racist bigots. They just don't care. And they will commit crimes to promote their racist bigotry. That is just the most abominable thing I've ever heard. It's my people who are doing this. I did the research. I found out the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith are true as Jewish. And my people don't care. And they attack me and try to destroy my life and murder me, all because I found out the truth, that this is the great and abominable church. So, when he came out and said, in a major city yet to be determined in Russia, that became the first and majorly used clip these whole latter days. Because I know what it meant. I already found the answer. I already knew. It's in the Book of Mormon. We were already told. And Nelson gets up and says, "Yep, Book of Mormon is true. Travis is true." And nobody knew it, despite doing all the videos on it. And just to hear Mormons cheer, "Oh dear God. Oh dear God." And there were Russians still back in 2017, 2018, 2019. I think in 2020, the Russians have backed off, especially when Putin invaded Ukraine. That's when I've not heard from Russians. I've put out the calls to Russians, they don't respond. So, running the test, Russians are gone. There have been the occasional person, but after the one sent me an email, again demanding, have you finished your Paleo-Hebrew research yet? Dude, if you want me to decipher Russian for you, just ask. But anyway, memories on the corner of my mind. And so, remember the first one, where he spoke, it was actually the conference one, wasn't it? Or the priesthood one, wasn't it? Let us all press on. Yeah, priesthood. Calling the priesthood to war. He brings this up again, referring to it. Let us all press on in the work of the Lord, that when life is o'er, we may gain the reward. He's talking about a mass extermination coming, encoded as Jesus is going to do it. But you'll be resurrected because you're righteous. That there's going to be a war. And a war for truth, as he calls it. And so, what is the background? Well, the historical background, which I've got to remember to get those video clips out of retirement from the archives. In December 2017, Congress has had the pattern of kicking the budget down the road, not wanting to solve it because of the close division between the false dichotomy party groups that is unconstitutional if we would just read our Constitution. And so Senator Hatch is on the lead committee to get this bill going, and he's got it, he's rushing it. He's pushing it through to get it passed before the end of the year. And of course, the deep state Dems are, not wanting that to happen. They're giving some grief about it. And so the famous argument between Senator Brown and Senator Hatch is immortal. As Senator Brown starts off by referring to the consequences of tinkle-down economics of the Reagan administration. Just funding money to the corporations to bail them out, and other things that he went off on before getting to this budget, saying that it is not for the poor people. And then Hatch says, I was born among the poor. I'm one of them. And then he backtracks a little bit later on. Whatever, Hatch, whatever. We know whatever he's up to, it's not for Trump. It's not for we the people. It's for the church. The church wants something done in this bill. And we would not find out about it until May, when Fox 13 News Utah's Max Roth is on the case and learns that the church had a little over half a dozen, something like that, LLC corporations formed at the beginning of the year, which, sure enough, that bill allowed LLC companies to form and not report where they get the funding from. And Max tells us the church collectively, through these specific LLC companies formed at the beginning of the year, had obtained $32 billion. And then they just laundered it into the stock market. In case you've forgotten, the other news clip that I've been going over with you, again from Fox 13 News Utah, that after the whistleblower came out in December 2019, the church had no choice but to allow the press and the public to know the ups and downs of the Ensign Peak advisors. And so Fox 13 News Utah, in the beginning of 2021, reported that the church was the only ones to have profited off of COVID. Which, that's the other scandal for that year with Shanghai. The church is involved in criminal operations to destroy the American government and steal money and mass murder people. This is what they're doing. This has been their 200-year-old plot from the Danites that told it all to Thomas B. Marsh with his affidavit to Governor Boggs. That the church has tried to say, no, he was excommunicated by Joseph Smith, and they won't tell you that he was still in Liberty Jail. He did not do any excommunications. And then, of course, the Danites love to blame wives. So, yeah, no. These Danites are evil. They are terrorists, insurrectionists, murderers, rapists, and thieves. They are the worst of humanity. And they are Mormon through Brigham Young. And so, yes, knowing how Russia operates, it was very clear what the church had done. They gave Putin money under the guise of a temple. Where is that temple, by the way? Oh, Putin used the money to attack Ukraine and cyber terrorize America and advance his nuclear program, which, oops, he nuked Russia. I remember watching Rachel Maddow's show as Rachel Maddow showed the satellite imagery of the nuclear plume going from west to east over all of Russia. Oh dear God. One of them strayed and went north, the other strayed and went south, and both went boom. Dear God. He just nuked his country. Talk about your Chernobyl times of infinity. But nonetheless, God. You know, he was supposed to die back in 2023. I guess his doctors rule. Because he seems to be doing fine and is going to go on for another 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50 years. He's no longer doing, well, that was the KGB walk, but he was twitching like Oakes twitches with tardive dyskinesia. But yeah, he was concerning people. He might die. Nope, it's all a trick. He tricked you. So anyway, regardless of that, everybody's forgotten it, I bet. But no, this is what they do. They compromise people. You want to do business with them, you got to get dirty. because they need to be able to trust you. And so, yeah, sure, you have to pay, but then they have you do a criminal act to show that they can trust you. Because if they get busted, you're going down with them. It's called compromat. And so the church then received the $32 billion to then launder through the stock market, thus the crime. And wouldn't you know it, they forgot to tell the SEC. $5 million. And the church is trying to call it a fine or a penalty or something like that. So it's no big deal. And then they went and sued their insurance company to try to get it back. And then they lost. But they got 10 trillion this year. Dear God. I have never seen people more greedier than this church. They are the richest organization ever on the face of the earth with trillions of dollars, and it's still not enough as they still try to steal it all. I mean, even James Bond's family motto, "The world is not enough," it didn't have the same meaning that the church means it for. Dear God. You know, Trump, yeah, he thinks he's the world leader, but he's not trying to steal from everybody. He lets people use him to launder money, and then he gets a cut of it, you know, like a mobster does. A godfather, a mob boss, criminal organization leader. But this church, dear God, they want it all, and they want it now. So, yes. Now, the Book of Mormon. We'll do that first, then we'll tell you how I'm awesome. In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Book of Mormon tells us that Jesus was born 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Church says, bleep you. We're going to misdefine and purposely misinterpret when the church was organized, as they all said in their manner of speech in the early 1800s and before, that it's the year of our Lord designation. And so that's how it's worded in section 20, that it's the Church of Christ in the year of our Lord, April 6, 1830. And so Mormons then say, oh, that's the year Jesus was born, is 1 CE. Or no. You have James E. Talmage writing Jesus the Christ, or Articles of Faith, or something like that, most likely Jesus the Christ, where he says that Jesus was born in 1 BC, April 6th. Never December 25th. Those Christians, they don't know what they're talking about. And here's the problem, is that the church can't tell you the truth about the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, king of Judah. Because it's 597 BCE, which means 600 years later is 4 CE, no 0 year. And this screws up the church's push. So you see by Bruce R. McConkie that he puts about 600 BCE. However, when we get to section or chapter 2, and he leaves in verse 4, and it came to pass that he, departed into the wilderness. The footnote, which is actually the bottom of the page, puts in brackets, no longer about, it's definitely 600 BC. They want Mormons to believe that the other version of Joseph Smith misinterpreted is 1 CE. See how this is working? They're trying to harmonize their misinterpretation by screwing up the literal history that they turned the Book of Mormon into. But wrong. 597. And this is vital because the one who had to rewrite the 116 pages is awesome. Because he knew through William Morgan. Again, I've done the videos. I know the history. I know this all. We're looking back now on all my videos and Nelson in his early conference talks, as we now know what happened. It is not me running research, running tests, trying to get confirmation and making discoveries. This is all factual information. If you're brand new and you're wanting to deny, get out of here. I've got over 8.6K videos all these years. This is well established that this church is the great and abominable church. Book of Mormon is true. Joseph is true. Jewish. And so what you have is just awe-inspiring, because he has to encode this. Joseph Smith Sr., by the way. It's his lodge that William Morgan was at writing the Book of Mormon, the original 116 pages that Martin Harris stole because Joseph Jr. couldn't babysit him well enough. Complaining, but my firstborn died, Daddy. And then the Methodists found out that I was a glass looker in March. And so they kicked us out. So yes, read section 3 in that context. It is just hilarious. Remember, Daddy is the patriarch. As the patriarch, he too is a prophet, seer, revelator. And he's actually a translator as well, as he was the one who taught Junior to be all of that, as Senior designated him to be Messiah ben Joseph, because Junior attended Daddy's meetings as often as occasion would permit, whereas Hiram went to the lodge in Palmyra because of the rules back then in those days, before 9/11/1826, when all hell broke loose. And so, yeah, this is all Senior. He has to encode it because the enemy wants to murder whoever is responsible for writing this book. They want to murder and burn this book so that their plot is not exposed. And so the only way to get this published and preserved is to encode it, giving you dates with using stories, plagiarizing Bible passages, but using a different character context setting to tell these different stories about what the plot is for the latter days. And so it is not Zedekiah. It is not literal history Lehi. It is not the Jews in Jerusalem. It is Mormons. Because again, section 3, verse 16, the Book of Mormon is going to teach Mormons about their Christ, who's the Jewish Christ. And so this is the start of the Jewish Christ's ministry, as Lehi is the type and shadow symbol. And thus, Joseph Smith's second vision is a direct pattern match for this. Joseph Smith's second vision is telling you, repeating this in a different format using Joseph instead of Lehi. He gets a book from Ammon, the Christ, Emmanuel, about the destruction of the people, about you, Mormons. And yeah, Mormons want to murder him. Go figure. So, this is where it gets a little complex, because you got to know astronomy like Joseph Smith Sr. did. It's awesome. And so, I already found out this date. I had found out back in the end of December or the 1st of January that 8 through 10 was the 23rd of September 2017. I did the book signing in Elko, Nevada, fulfilling the Revelation prophecy of the flood in chapter 12, where Nelson was safe here in Salt Lake City, as prophesied. And you'll notice on the my laptop, I didn't have the full picture that I've been showing you for the last number of years after Monson died. Because I was looking for it after Monson died. Oh, wow, yeah, verse 4, awesome. And so, okay, God's sitting on his throne and the baby is born. And so I'm going forward in time after that in 2018, and I couldn't find it, and it was frustrating me. And then I went back to the Joseph Smith translation, trying to see what I missed, and the footnotes. Joseph Smith translation. Verse 5 gets moved to verse 3. Oh my God, how embarrassing. And so as long as I don't talk about it, nobody would ever know. And so, yes, I was able to figure that out. But yeah, everybody talks about this date, the 23rd of September 2017, the start of the ministry to Mormons of the Mormon who's their Christ. And he showed it happened. Book of Mormon is true. And Mormons want to murder him. It's true. Book of Mormon is so true. Dear God, Mormons, trying to save your lives. And so, 2017 is the first year of the reign of Zedekiah. But knowing of the solar eclipse from November 4th, 2016, again from Fox 13 News Utah, that's why I began looking for other biblical signs in the heavens. That's why I found Revelation chapter 12. That's how I found the 23rd of September 2017. That's how I found 17th December 2017 and Monson. Oh, there it is. Quadranted meteor showers, 2nd December 2018. And so I started going around finding others now that I had Revelation 12 figured out. Because February 2017 was the one about the flood. And March 13th is the publication date of when I had the book up to 25 pages to get it published. I found it. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. I'd always been correcting Mormons all this time. Mormons have been trying to say it was 1 CE. I'm going, no. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem, it'd be 4 CE. I already knew that because that's my field. It's my ball court. You ain't got game. Wrong. But I didn't realize the contention about this. Neither date works for the literal history claim by Christians that the Passion Week was Sunday to Sunday, which was equivalent to Passover in 33 or 34 CE. No. And so, yeah, I already did that. There's 29 CE, and then is it every 25 years plus or minus that it happens on that day? And so, no, 4 CE, actually 4 CE would work. Is it 4 CE? Because, oh my God. Now we gotta check. That would be hilarious. Oh wait, that's this year. 4 CE. There we go. No, it is not 4 CE. So what was the number range? No. Yes. 6 CE. Okay. And so 29, right? So it'd be 23-year difference. Whoops. Let's see. It's not 29 because it ends on Saturday. Sabbath to Sabbath. Oh, right. No, it is not 6. Oh my goodness. So let's do the previous year to find that out. Because it's so tricky, because Constantine turned Sabbath to Sunday. Okay, no. It's not the 26th. There it is. 25th. Also fits. That's 4 years. So then you'd think that 33 would be it if it is every 3 years. No. Leap year is apparently the deciding factor in screwing this up. Oh my God. No. Oh, it is not random. Yeah, the leap year throws off the randomness. I am not seeing a repeat here. Yeah, I'm seeing the Sabbath to Sabbath, the Jewish, but not the Christian. We cannot justify the Christian. I'm already at year 47, and I haven't seen a repeat. So yeah, there is no pattern because of their version of leap year, which is a whole extra month of Adar 2 added in, rather than 4 days for our leap years every 4 years. Or every day, every 4 years, an extra day in February. All right? And so, knowing the year, I even ran the test plus or minus 10 years, either way, just to check. And I went looking for a sign in the heavens that human beings would see and notice. And so I went to 4 CE first and checked 6th of April and went, no, but oh, the moon is almost new. Oh, let's check this out. And sure enough, it was close. I changed my Urim and Thummim dial. It's the Urim rock. You turn it a quarter to the left. To put it over Jerusalem. And it was a partial solar eclipse. And so I knew that the position of the moon over the sun indicated that I needed to go further north to check to see if it's going to be a full eclipse. And sure enough, it took me a while to figure out which Russian city in the Urim and Thummim would closest correspond. And then I went and fact-checked that with the internet to see if there was a solar eclipse on that same day as well, and confirmed, yes, it was an annular eclipse over Russia. Joseph Smith Sr. knew the plot before Russia was even invented in 1919 with the Scottish Rites eagles as their seal. Or was it 1909? And then 1919 was a seal? Something like that. Can't remember. I'm not going to check on YouTube. And yeah, we're doing this tomorrow. Crap. And so getting the facsimile or the Urim and Thummim sign in the heavens and knowing the anthropology of the ancient Middle East and knowing my scriptures as I do, I went, because I knew what the sign in the heavens corresponded to what story. Genesis chapter 22. Start in verse 3. We can start from the beginning. And it came to pass that after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here am I. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, because Ishmael is dead to him, whom thou lovest, get thee into the land of Moriah. Stanford, if you're listening, can you guess the meaning and translation of Moriah? I don't even have to see it in Paleo-Hebrew to know what that is. Stanford was asking, and so he would know. And offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go up yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering. See, this is where Christians and Mormons especially get this all screwed up. He's a lad. He's not 33 or 34 years old. You're trying to make him Jesus. No. Think Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. With verse 5 moved to verse 3. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, pay attention to the wording. The Jew knows what he's talking about. My father, and he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb? Revelation 19. For a burnt offering. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they both went up, both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son. You do bind yourself to Jesus. I am corrected. Laid him on an altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the messenger of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, Malachi. Malachi, messenger. It's the Christians who turned it into angels. And said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God. Seest thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. No, he sacrifices him. He slaughters him. It's an annular eclipse. He burns them. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and beheld behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day during the Qumran community of the Jews. In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Ta-da! 8 April 4 CE over Russia. So, I then find out that the latter days did not end in 2020 or 2021. And I'm going, oh, what happened? Why? And so, yeah, 8 April 2024. And I went, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. 8 April 4 CE, 8 April 2024 CE. Math. 2024 minus 4. Wait, no, I got this. 2020. Now go back to your Book of Mormon. This, by the way, well, it's in the Book of Mormon too, where the Book of Mormon Senior talks about Abraham sacrificing Isaac. 33. Do they have it in the footnotes? 8a. 1 Nephi 13:35. Yep. No, this is all about the lamb. No, they do not footnote the Book of Mormon passage. Jacob 4:5. There it is. There it is. Behold, they believed in Christ and worshiped the Father in his name. And also we worship the Father in his name, because it's the same name. Amen, Emmanuel. And for this intent we keep the law of Moses. Deuteronomy. Chapter 18, verse 15. The Jewish Christ, a man like Moses. It's starting to rain. It pointing our souls into him. The windows of heaven are opening up. And for this cause it is sanctified unto us for righteousness, even as it was accounted unto Abraham in the wilderness to be obedient unto the commands of God in offering up his son Isaac. But a ram, which is a similitude of God and his only begotten Son. That's a sign in the heavens. He dies. Because solar eclipses refer to deaths of the King, the Christ. Ta-da! So, 600 years before this event is Lehi's Exodus. Joseph Smith Sr. is giving you the man like Moses, who is Lehi, and the Exodus year after the start of his ministry in 2017, specifically the 23rd of September 2017. That it's 2020, that is the Exodus year. And guess what? The Book of Mormon is true. It happened. Everything from the Exodus story you know, I thought he was leaving me alone. I really did. Nope. He doesn't care to be wrong. He doesn't care to be a part of the great and abominable church. He's back. He started his shift. Great. And so Joseph Smith Sr. knew the start of the ministry date for the coming of the Christ, who would be a Mormon. He knew the Exodus year that Oaks said was just going to be a test run. Everything from the book of Exodus about Passover, the whole story to the Exodus, happened in 2020 and 2021. Even Captain Moroni went alone back to Zarahemla to try to lock up the kingmen with the Insurrection Act against Pharaoh's court. You're welcome. Never thank me. Never. Never. Groundhog Day. It all happened. And so, yes, 2024 is what Oakes was talking about. This is it. It's supposed to be it. And Trump still can't do it. Because as we read from Nelson in this opening talk in 2018, the second year of Trump, Nelson is expecting Trump to escalate. Because he says, "You will witness the mighty manifestations of Heavenly Father and Jesus, proving we're true. And in the coming days, Jesus." Oops. And so then Oakes, in March 14th, 2020, oh God, getting dates mixed up, goes on and tells the mission presidents in that secret meeting that was not supposed to be leaked, that got leaked, that was just going to be a test run. And then here we are. This is it. All in the Book of Mormon for us. All about Russia helping to be the foreign government putting Zedekiah on the throne. And if you'd seen the video series about the 11 years of the latter days, because the Babylonians from the first year in 597 to 586 is 11 years when Jerusalem is finally destroyed. So 11 years, we can go back to 2014. When the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. Oh, Perry Packer Scott bite the big one in 2015, setting the way up for Nelson to be pole position. And Joseph Smith Sr. knew. So true. So true. Multiple confirmations that the Book of Mormon is true. That Joseph Smith Sr. knew the plot and had encoded it so that the Book of Mormon would not be burned, that Mormonism be destroyed, that it survived even though the enemy murdered Joseph Smith, stole his religion and scripture, and turned them Christian. But yeah, that's all part of the prophecy too. As the windows of heaven are falling. Just hopefully the screen will keep them from flooding the apartment. And so yes, when Nelson got up and said a major city yet to be determined in Russia, I went, oh my God, Book of Mormon is so true. That bastard, he's the enemy. Because I'd already been working on the church history. I already knew about William Morgan and Joseph Smith Sr. by that time. And I already knew the fateful date of the birth of Jesus. It's just incredible. And it's just horrific that Mormons refuse to believe, because the church has to be true at all costs, even to deny the truth and be delusional. So, tomorrow, great. Just 6 minutes. Just 6 more minutes. He couldn't wait.